and take it away, Anne. It's all
All
you.
right. Well, I would say first off, you guys are really lucky that you're attending this remotely because I am literally, Kelsey, back me up on this, like the clumsiest person you've ever met. I'm like a bull in a china shop, and you'd probably either get coffee spilled on you or smacked in the face. So, really, remote learning is super good for me. Just saying, count your blessings.
I don't know. I just hope you're as funny online as you are in person. I think the top day that I have ever laughed in my entire life was my first day of Tilt. So
That's no lie, but that wasn't me. That was Jesse.
no, you also, and then a little bit of like my ex-father-in-law and his beats, and it was just a lot of things one after another, you know?
Oh, yeah. So, to tell just a little bit of history to give you a sad sample of what this mess is here. I taught in the district in Billings Public Schools for 12 years, I think, at the school where Kelsey is, and then at another school that's more kind of midtown. And then for the last 2.5 years that I was there, I was a technology integration specialist. So I got to do lots of trainings with lots of people, and it was so fun. And then, dummy, well, no, I wouldn't take back one single second of it. In the middle of the year of 2017, I think it was, right? I ended up taking a job that took me out of the district, and I got to work for home, which was amazing. It was so fun. But when this year started and everything was remote, I was working at home. My husband was working at home until today. He went back to work today. And I'm really excited about that for multiple reasons. None of which are because he's not in my office anymore. But anyway, we were both working at home, and it was like, well, our son was going to be a sophomore in high school, and do we send him back? Like after what happened in the spring, do we really want to send him back into a building? Like it just seemed so hit or miss that we decided to just keep him home for remote because our district kind of gave us a choice. And at that time, I was fully expecting to just be working in my other job and my husband working in his, and Harrison would be doing his thing. And we were also trying to sell our house at the time. And then they didn't have enough classrooms, enough teachers to cover his classes. And I was griping about it, and I was complaining about it, and I was bitching about it. And one night in the middle of the night, because it's literally keeping me up nights, I was like, oh no, I know what I'm supposed to do. So I emailed our remote administrator, and I was like, I'm asking for a friend. What do you still need people for? And she's like, well, how would you like to do middle school? And I was like, because I taught fourth and fifth grade. And but it turned out she had a pre-algebra, 4 sections of pre-algebra and 2 of English. And I was like, that could actually be really fun. So I did it. I said yes, and I did it. And actually, as we were talking, it's been so much more fun than I ever expected. But I really do miss like working with colleagues and peers and everything. So when this opportunity came up, I was like, yes, I have used iMovie for so many projects over this year and for many years, but especially this year. And I've got a really cool one coming up that I'm going to use to actually show you how to use it. So I'm super excited to dig in, you guys, and I'm really excited that you're here. So to kick off, I'm going to have you go to, please hold. I like to get in Zoom, I like to get the clickable links to put in the chat. And I've noticed that if you just paste them right out of the Omnibox, if you're using Chrome, or the URL out of the actual browser, it'll be clickable. So if you go there, your code is, I noticed that these Mentimeter codes are getting longer and longer and longer. There is the code. So menti.com, and the code I just pasted in the chat. And one thing I'll say, I know I talk fast. Sorry. Feel free to stop me or interrupt or put something in the chat at any time, because I would much rather you guys get out of this whatever you need rather than me just blah, 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 blah. All right, I've got 2 people in. And I'll go ahead and share so you can see as the results begin to populate. Waiting on about 4, 3. I've learned a couple things. Oh, okay. I've learned a couple things in Zoom. One, I guess it's some kind of unwritten requirement that you're supposed to announce when you share your screen. Do you right? I'm going to share my screen now. And then as you like fumble around with it, you're supposed to give like a blow by blow of all of those steps too. I mean, who knew? Who knew?
Yeah, guilty of that. Yeah, I don't know that it's a rule, but I do now hear myself doing that.
I think it's like an unwritten rule. We all know it. We all know it. But every time I catch myself doing it, I'm like, no, you don't need to say it out loud.
They can see. Yeah.
Okay, good. Awesome. So this is great. A couple people are going to really be able to learn some awesome stuff. And some of you, maybe two things. You'll either find something that you weren't previously aware of, or you can enlighten us with some stuff that you know about that I maybe forget to mention. Because by no means am I any kind of an expert on this, other than I've been using it for a while and I've learned some tricks. So if there's something that maybe you know of that I forget to mention or that I gloss over, I want to make sure that you get a chance to let me know what that is. So one last question. What do you hope to learn tonight? Whether you're brand new and just starting out, or you could cobble something together in a pinch, what do you hope to get out of this besides credits?
I am actually our district's or our elementary PE teacher, and I am just a structured recess monitor this year because of COVID. So same teacher thing, but just outside for 4.5 hours a day. And so recess, teach twos, and structure, like teaching a structured game without demonstration is really super tough. And so I've made a couple videos. Like I have a character like Professor Movement, and I do like the tundra and this silly stuff, but it's really like, hey, don't throw snow, blah blah. But also, and this might not be part of, I'm not sure, but like just the planning sometimes that goes behind making some of these, because I'll say, hey, yo, I'm gonna make this cool thing about jump rope, and then it's like a month goes by because I'm like, what do I even start? But once I do it, it's like so fun in iMovie and easy and great. But it's just to get there and to plan it. Sometimes I find trying, I guess.
Yeah, that's super smart. We will definitely talk. Help me remember as we go along to talk about kind of storyboarding and some resources to find for that, because I mean, all of us are going to be approaching that from slightly different ways. And I'm now to the point where I'm just like, well, I'm just going to throw it together and arrange it as I see. So that's good. We'll make sure we come back to that.
Yeah.
And to be your district's only PE teacher, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Well, I'm just elementary, but I'm the only one that's not an actual PE teacher, but is still a PE teacher, but is outside at recess. I don't really know. Yeah.
And also in the middle of a pandemic. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy.
Kids, no, don't touch the ball. No, don't touch the jump rope.
Yeah, we had color coding for a long time. So I made like a video about like, kindergartners can only touch purple. Like,
wow. Yeah, so that's really great. Okay, so in remote, as I said, I think all of us who've been remote know that there's really a distinct place for video and instruction and supplemental, just hints and coaching and stuff like that. Editing, awesome. We'll talk about that. Students who may have missed class, perfect. Tools layout, yep, okay, awesome. Sweet, okay, great. Yeah, and counseling that's awesome, because you can make little short 1-minute snippets or something like that. Okay, that's super, thanks for that. So one cool thing that I want to show you, we're actually going to kind of cobble something together as we work. And so one of the things that I have discovered last year is screen recording, obviously is super valuable. And there's a couple things that I want to show you about that. Obviously you're here. If you're here, you have a Mac, because iMovie only works on Mac. So if you have a PC, sorry, you'll just get to watch. But iMovie is specific to Mac only. And one of the really cool newish tricks that has come with every update of Mac, if you've updated even within the last probably year or so, you most likely have this. Do you know how to take a screenshot? Everybody know how to take just a screenshot? Control-Shift-3 or Control-Shift-4. Try Control-Shift-5. Or I'm sorry, Command-Shift-5. I'm used to saying Control because I'm always doing it with my students. What happens when you do Command-Shift-5 is you get this movable little frame here that lets you actually, one, capture a specific area. It can either be the entire screen or just a part of it. It won't let me actually drag my little toolbar over, but you can do everything with Command-Shift-5. You can capture your entire screen like Command-Shift-3 does. You can capture a part of it like Command-Shift-4 does. Yeah! Command-Shift-5 lets you drag around a portion, but then that second little section inside of the toolbar there is either to record your entire screen or to record a part of it. And so what I've actually done over here on the right side is I literally came on here yesterday and I did this because I have all these videos that I just had my kids make and they were due yesterday. They were all turned into Google Classroom. Some of them actually published it the way that I told them to, where they share it as a video, and some just left it in slides. And so I needed to be able to quickly do a screen recording to capture the video of these animations that they did. So you can, once you just decide on the part of the screen you want to record, the options down here, which I wish I could show you, but they're in the wrong window. You get an option of where to save it, where when you do just a screenshot, typically it saves right to your desktop. You can tell it where to save. It can save to your desktop, to your documents, mail, etc. If you want it to have a timer on it, you can do that. The microphone is probably my #1 favorite thing because I do happen to have a, I'm going to stop sharing real quick here. Oh, see, I just announced it. Dang it. I have this blue snowball mic. It's a USB microphone. A microphone really does make a huge difference. I'm not using one right now, so I'm just relying on my computer to record the sound, which is fine, except that if I have too many windows open or too many programs open, it starts to make it sound like an airplane, like it's getting ready to take off. And so that does interfere with the sound because the microphone and that fan are pretty close together. So a microphone helps kind of cushion some of that. The other thing is when I'm using my AirPods and I'm actually recording, like we've been reading the most racist book ever written, I swear. I'm like, I can't believe we still read this. It's awful. But anyway, I've been doing it as like a read aloud and recording just as I read, and I use my AirPods for that. And so with this option, I can record a PDF and actually pull it up on my AirPods to use that as a microphone. Yeah, a microphone is, and they're not expensive at all. And actually, Nikki, isn't there a prize?
Well, yes, there is, Anne. We'll be giving away a lavalier mic kit where you can plug one end into your computer and wear a little receiver, and you can have it like the news anchors, like just stuck to your shirt here. So also good for student projects too. Works in all devices, and we'll also send the adapters so it works in your computers and your smartphone and stuff like that. So we'll be giving that away at the end, but you got to stick away to the end and must be present to win.
I wasn't even intending to do a little transition like that. It just magically happened. So yeah, a microphone is great. Like Samantha just said in the chat, sometimes it's, you get like weird background noise that you don't realize when you're talking, but when you listen to the replay, you can hear it. So I'm just going to quickly capture. I'm going to just do a quick screen grab through Command-Shift-5. I'm going to click record, blah, 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 blah. And I think I just have it recording off my computer mic. When I'm finished, up at the very top here, there's, oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Sorry. There's a little button that's up in like the menu bar way up at the top. It's like it looks like the record button. You just turn it off. And then for me, because I told it to save to my desktop, it automatically saved that recording. So, oops, I'm going to drag it over here to this monitor here. So this is now part of my collection. Fun fact, when you have something selected on your desktop and you hit the space bar, blah, 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 it gives you a quick preview of that thing without actually opening preview. That's been really helpful for me this year as I've captured a bunch of things like this and I don't remember which one is which. That quick preview has been really helpful. So once you have a little bit of video, I'm going to show you how to actually get that ready to put into iMovie, because that's the number one thing to know. So go ahead and open iMovie, and up at the very, very top, there's two segments, I guess, to iMovie. One is media and one is projects. And this was kind of confusing to me at first when I first started using iMovie, because your media is literally everything you may or may not use. Media is all your pictures, all your videos, any audio files, any media that you may end up using in a project. So you've got your media, which is like your raw footage, and then your actual project, which is the video project itself. I guess when I think of it that way, it's pretty self-explanatory. So you can see here in my library, I have all of these different sets of media. Each one of these I've named within a project, and I'll show you how they got there. But each one is kind of a collection of all of the video, audio, and photos that go into that project. So over here, I have animations. This was an online course that I did for our district. And so I just recorded a 25-minute screencast, and I didn't end up using all of it in the project, but the whole thing is there. This project, or this particular media collection, only has one thing in it, but then you'll notice this one, I've got like 10 or 12 different things. Some are audio files, some are pictures, some are videos, and you can tell because the pictures have a little camera on them and the video shows the time. The green ones are just audio. So for every different collection, that's going to be your media. I typically build that once I get into a project. So I find this to be just a little odd, but when you're in projects and you go to create a new project, you have two choices. And one, we'll come back to the trailer in a minute, but one is movie. That's probably going to be the one that most of us are actually gearing this course to. So I'm going to go ahead and select movie, and it's going to open up the project. We're just call it the project. Notice at the top here, for now, it's just called My Movie. I'm so used to Google Docs and everything like that. You name it first. So this one's weird to me because you actually name it last. Once you've done some things in here and you get ready to go back to projects, then it asks you to name it. So just keep that in mind, that whatever your current project is, unless you've already named it, is just called My Movie. So once you get into your actual project, your library, again, is where all of those, the media is. So this is why I really rarely mess with that media tab up there, because I usually bring it in down here. But I will say, this is like a drawer. You can open and close it here to see it or not see it. This is just the collection of all of the media that you've at some point brought into some project, or may potentially bring into a project. This space right here, select an item from the sidebar, up here where it says My Media, this is just ready and waiting for you to bring stuff in. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One, you can go up into edit, import media, under the file menu, import media. But most often what I do, and you see there is a keyboard shortcut there, Command I, import. Most often what I do is I take from my desktop and I just drag it all in, usually. Of course, it's not going to work. Of course, it's not going to work. Oh, because it wants you to bring something from here. So in the library, I know I'm going to make a new collection, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I just right clicked on here, which is also Option N. I'm going to create a new event, and I'll just call this iMovie 322. This will never really get seen by anybody but you. Oh, I guess I won't use that. Choose another name. Okay. 3-22. Oops. Okay. And you see how it puts it in alphabetical order. Now, sorry about that. Once I have my actual event created, that's where I can drag it in. So plop. Oops. Now, do you see how I dragged it down into here? This is the actual project. So this is where all the videos will ultimately go, but I don't know that I want to use them all because these are unedited. So I'm just going to do Command Z, which works everywhere. Command Z is undo. And I'm going to try that again. I'm just going to drop it in, see how it turned blue up there. So this means these are potential segments that I may use. And this is my actual project here. Does anybody's look different than this? Like yours is organized in a different order? Okay, if it is, you can actually switch these around a little bit. Where is that? It's like a little thing. You can change these around. Can't remember where it is. I do it every once in a while by accident. I switch it so that this is up here and this is over here and that's down there. If that happens, poke around up here in these menu items. You cannot break anything, I promise, by clicking around on anything up in here. Pretty much anything that you do in here, you can undo. That's super useful to know. So Command Z is always a great, oh, here we go. Tile window to the left of the screen, tile window to the right of the screen. This is where you can move that stuff around. So don't ever be afraid to click around in those menus. Okay, so now I've got all my potential media in here. And what I want to do now is drag and drop them from the browser above, which is this, to create my movie. So let's say I'm not sure I want to use this whole thing. Maybe I don't want to use this one at all. A couple things to notice. See the white line? That's called the playhead, I think. I can't remember. Maybe the red line is called the playhead. When I push the space bar on any part of the media, it's going to start playing wherever that white line is. Do you see it? So when I hit start, I'm sorry, the red, I guess. When I hit the space bar, it starts to play. Okay, you can tell I work with 8th graders because these are real dark. If I want to check on something in the middle, I can click anywhere on there. It'll move the selector. The red bar is like the option, like your cursor, and the white bar is like your actual mouse. So when I hit the space bar, it'll start to play from there. So right now, by default, it wants to select the entire segment. If I just want a part of that, I can drag these yellow bars to whichever part I actually want, and it shows me the time. So if I know I only want 1 second from everybody's video, I can actually isolate the single second that I want by dragging it over there, and then I can move that around. Once I know which part I want, I can either just drag it down there, I can click on the plus that shows up when I hover over it right there, or I can hit E. I think of it as enter. That'll bring that selected part down. So if I just have selected the entire thing and I hit E, it'll bring all 9 seconds down. Everything you bring in will come in after the most recently entered one. So this one I got 1 second, this one I took 9 seconds. So you can either pull pieces from up here. So if I only wanted 1 second, I can bring them in from up here and isolate the 1 second there, or I can do it down here, and I'll show you that next. So for this particular project, I do actually want all of these because I'm going to edit them down there. So I just did Command A. That's the universal Mac command for all, select all. So I selected every one of these video segments. Oh, except I don't want this one because that's that one that I recorded of my screen. I'm going to hit the Command key and click, and that'll unselect just that one. So now when I hit E, they're all going to come in there. Notice that they all look to be about the same length, but if I hover over them, that one's 8.6 7 seconds. This one's 9. That one's 38 seconds. It shows you the duration. If I want to do some really fine precision editing here, that's really hard to see at 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 38 seconds. So right here, this settings bar right there, this is what allows me to zoom in or zoom out on all of those segments. So I typically work with this zoomed all the way in, because then it gives me a more stretched out view of each of those clips. So if I do need to trim something, I can pretty easily see it. So I'm just scrolling back. I'm just using my trackpad to scroll back, but I could also grab this little nub down here and move back and forth. So for this particular project, we're studying verbals because that's an 8th grade standard. Verbals are, let me think here, gerunds, participles, which consist of past and present participles, and infinitives. Do you guys remember this? I know. Me neither. So I was thinking, how in the world am I going to teach this without just giving boring worksheets? And so I was doing some research online about infinitives and gerunds, about verbals and how to teach them. And somebody said, like, if you're an English language learner, like I'm studying Spanish right now, and we have been working on infinitives. That when I finally heard that, it made sense to me. They're all verbs in disguise, basically different uses of words that are verbs, but maybe they act as adjectives or they act as nouns. So I read an article about hobbies, and for English language learners, hobbies are really useful things for kids to for English language learners to understand the infinitive form, the gerund form, and the participle form of these different verbs. So I got thinking, like, how could they show a hobby without actually doing a hobby? Like exercising would be weird. I remember in the spring when my son's PE teacher tried to tell him to exercise online, and I was like, I feel weird about that. So I thought, well, why not have them do animations? So I had them pick a hobby, and they used Google Slides to animate a hobby. Or not all of them did hobbies. As you can see here is, oh, hold on. So what I'm doing right now is I just push the space bar, and you see how now, not really a hobby, it's playing along. So this was me screen recording, because I didn't actually start it until about that far in. So I don't need all this extra junk at the beginning, right? But I can, as I move my mouse along, I can see where it's playing. Clearly not a hobby, not the best one. I don't really want this one to come first, okay? Because that sets the tone. So I'm gonna back this up just a little bit, zoom it out, so to speak. And I'm gonna pick one, again, 8th graders, quite violent, but I want something short, sweet, like this one to be in the front. I'm just gonna click it and drag it to the front and place it in place like that. So they're really easy to move around. And then I'll maybe pick something like this one, and I'll bury that one way back here after the zombies. Okay, so now just to preview, I'm gonna hit the space bar and let it play. And again, you see how it doesn't start until a few seconds in. So I need to edit that again. I'm gonna zoom back in, and I'm gonna figure out where exactly it starts. Looks like hers actually starts to move right about there. So I clicked, and now I'm going to hit Command B, and that's break. I know that because I've done this enough to know that edit, no, right up in here somewhere. I don't even see it. Okay, oh, split, sorry, split. Golly, see, I don't even see it up in here. If you right click on the actual segment, it gives you this secondary menu, which is far more handy. So either command click or 2-finger click or right click if you have a mouse, and that was split. That'll actually put like a break right in there. And now I can get rid of that extra check on the beginning. So Command B, break, that's how I remember it. That'll actually just start it right off. Actually, though, this is pretty clever. I mean, it's got a little violence going on in there, but it's pretty clever. So on the end here, see where it says bonk? Where is it? Right? Nope, nope, nope. Where does it say that? I happened to notice as I was glancing, it says bonk, bonk, bonk. It happened really fast because in her animation, she didn't leave it on there very long. I can put something in there called a freeze frame, and that'll actually just drag that section out. So again, it was right about here. I'm going to 2-finger click, and I'm going to click add freeze frame. By default, it puts in a 4-second hold. See where it shows with the little hand. 4 seconds is probably too long. Oops, and I put it in the wrong spot. Sometimes it takes just a little bit of finagling to get that in the right place. So 4 seconds is way too long. Again, I get that yellow frame. This handle, as I call it up there, when I hover over it, there's a little clock. I can drag that freeze frame back to maybe 1 extra second. So instead of doing 4 seconds or no seconds, it'll hold that bonk for just an extra second. So that's how I can get it to hold a certain frame a little bit longer, and then carry on. Okay, the other thing I notice here is that really abrupt transition from this students to this students. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create an ed puzzle from this final video. Right now, my whole video unedited is 5 minutes and 54 seconds. And I'm going to tell you that 8th graders don't have much longer attention span than 3 to 4 minutes. So, and that's probably true of adults. If you're going to create a video, I really highly recommend, for the best results, shorter is better. So I know I'm going to have to trim a couple minutes off of this to really get big impact. I'm going to be stopping it, asking them a question, and then continuing on with the next one. So I don't really want those really abrupt changes. I want it to be a little smoother. That's where transition comes into play. So transitions are, just as the word implies, a nice transition from one to the other. If you click on one of these, it'll actually show you what it will look like. Oops, sorry, hold on. When you use it, see how it gives you a sample there? It's image, blur into the next image. This one, cross blur, it's like hazier. You can easily just test them out by dragging your mouse over one or click one. I typically like to use the ones that actually have like the cross dissolve or the cross blur, and see how it goes in there. By default, they go at 1 second. And so what will happen is it'll blur from one to the other over the span of 1 second, kind of overlaps them like this. You can get really fancy by changing, I double clicked on that, changing the duration of that transition so it only overlaps by 1 second or 4 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever you want. Oh, because it's not long enough, that's why. So let's go to 2. Yeah, it won't go too far, obviously. So forget it, I'll just keep it at 1 second. If you want to try a different one, you just drag another one right on top in its place and it will swap them out. So they're kind of fun to see the effect that some of them have. It definitely changes the feel of your video depending on the transition. But again, hard lesson learned. I find that the most effective videos have a consistent transition. It's not like puzzle left on this one, fade to black on that one, page curl left. It's too much. The viewers are just like assaulted with too much. So on that thread, you can actually choose a theme. Right here, you see that my video has no theme. I haven't done this in a long, long time, but up here in the menu, you can actually change the theme of your video. Is it in here? No. I always have to click around on these. Typically, you choose it at the beginning. I'll look for that. I'll look for that. Okay, so, oops. Oh, see this right here? How it got rid of this thing over here? This is your window. So if I don't need that media anymore, I just turned it off by clicking on this here, and I get a bigger display up there. That's kind of handy. And if it ever disappears, you know, you can show it again by this. You'll probably notice that a lot of the Mac stuff is very just visual. You don't get a lot of like menu items that are labeled, but when you hover over them, it'll tell you what they do. So that's useful to know. The arrow here is to download, import projects, etc. So the transitions, again, back to here, if I select, it must be in, well, remind me, I'll come back to that. So you can add those case by case, or if you select your entire project and you put a T in there, oh, Shift T, Command T, sorry, Command T, it will put that whatever your most recently chosen transition in between all your clips. Does that make sense? So if you do Command T, it'll put that same transition in. Okay, to redeem my kids, I got to show you this one, this next one right here. So I want to show it to you in full screen because it's a lot easier to watch big. That is particularly when I get audio added in there, which we'll head to in a few minutes. I like to be able to see it full screen because you're getting the experience your viewers will get. You can do this, which I just clicked on the arrow right here, or just like everything, you can do play full screen, which is Shift Command F. There's a keyboard shortcut for everything. So play from the beginning or play full screen, whichever. So I just want to show you this one because it's far better than anybody beating somebody with a stop sign. Okay, hold on. Now space bar, we'll get it to play. Oops, see, I need to trim that one. And there. Good to know. Play. See how it's very slowly playing? So what happened here, and this is great, I just hit escape. Her actual video doesn't start even playing until right here. So does anybody remember what keyboard shortcut I'm going to use to break that? Command B.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm just going to delete that beginning part. Okay, that helped because that brought it down to 16 seconds. This one was so good. Remember, this is all done with Google Slides. You didn't know about watermarks on pictures. So there, that's it. And then see how that nice smooth transition goes into the next one. So clearly I still have some editing to do here because on this next one, you can see where I have me clicking around to get the actual screen capture. See that? So this will take me a little bit of time to actually edit out, but Command B is huge. Delete. It retains the transitions unless I actually take them out. Super, super smooth. Okay, so let's say that I've done a whole bunch of editing and it's good to go. And now I want to add some titles on there, like the student's name. To do that, that's going to be titles. You have a lot of options for titles, and some of these you'll probably recognize. Again, when I move my mouse across it, you'll see what it looks like when I actually try that on. All of the titles, well, hold on. All of the titles are able to be overlaid or standalone. So if I just want the title to be over like a black screen as they appear here, I can drag it in front of something like this. The duration will show at the top and it'll go in with a default amount. So this one here, that's like credits, 9.5 seconds. You'll recognize this one, hopefully, is 9.5 seconds. And by default, oh, oops, I accidentally deleted the text. Hold on. Let me put that back. By default, it puts in like Latin. So hang on, let me get it to the beginning. I just hit the space bar. Can you practically hear the music in the background? So that goes for 9.5 seconds. The longer you drag this out, which is really simple to do with transitions, or I'm sorry, with titles, you just take the end and you grab it and make it longer. The longer it is, the slower that text will go. And it's based on, of course, how much text you have in there. So to edit the text, you just double click and then you write in up here. So a long time ago, blah, 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 whatever you want it to say. So if I just have that amount of text dragging over 11 seconds, it's going to drag pretty slowly, which depending on the level of your readers, maybe slower is better. So if you get this on there and you're like, whoa, that's way too fast, all you have to do is click, drag the end where you get that little timer thing and pull it longer or shorter. So you can really easily adjust the time. If, on the other hand, you want that to be overlaid, so sit on top of the text. So a long time ago, and then there was an epic battle, you just plop it right on top of the clip and then it plays over the video. Likewise, if you want there to be a background where there's, oh, I don't know, a scene of stars, you click on background up here and you drag the stars down on, and then you go to titles, you can pop that title right over the top of these stars. And then I'm going to drag this out to match the timing of the text, or vice versa. You can change either one, but I typically stick with the default. And then you get this. So some of the backgrounds there's several of them in there by default. Some of them are actually dynamic. So like this underwater one actually looks like it's flowing. The curtain kind of looks like it's rippling. These maps are super cool. If you're doing some kind of like a social studies project where they're traveling from place to place or whatever, and you want it to say start on Billings and travel over to Bozeman or further, even further, it takes a little while. Hold on, let's see. I'm just gonna pop that in there. When you put it in, it asks you where you want to start. And that's when you can actually type in your town. So it was an epic road trip. When I hit spacebar again, it travels me from Billings to Bozeman. It's super fun, I know. You can make that route go shorter, longer. You can also change the theme of that right in here in the map itself. So then you can kind of experiment to see which one has the more correct feel. So that's super fun. These maps for like a weather project or any kind of social studies. And there's several different kinds too. So those are really fun for the backgrounds. But what's even more awesome is you can put in any picture you want. So everybody smile. Look adorable. Oh, you're so cute. Okay, I just did a screenshot and I'm not even going to put it into my media. I'm just going to pop it right into the beginning of my project. When you have an image in there, by default, it wants to do what's called the Ken Burns effect. So see how it kind of zooms in? Super cool, unless you have moving text on top of it too. So notice right up here that this little menu turned blue. It's because it's like, hey, we just tried to read your mind and we don't know if that's what you want. It's in this cropping menu here. You can either have it fit, so it just stays static, crop to fill, so it trims off all that black stuff around the edges, or Ken Burns, which is where it looks like it's zooming in and out. With the Ken Burns effect, you can tell it where to start and end. So I kind of want it to be right here around you guys. And then I want it to end big out here. And this is only 3.5 seconds, so it's going to go really fast. So I'm going to hit space bar. You kind of get that vomit cam action. I'm just going to drag that out to be a little longer and then hit play. If I want it to actually go the other way around, where it starts out big and actually zooms in on you, when I hit back on this crop thing here, up at the top, oh, it switches right here where it's got start and end. I can switch those around by clicking this guy and it'll reverse the order of that. So it'll start big and then zoom into your faces. So you can use any picture you want or video as a background. And then when you put a title in over the top of it, then you get a really cool effect. Oops, title, iMovie 3/22/21. It's March. Oh my gosh. Okay, so ooh, already it starts to look really cool and professional. The other thing that's really cool about like the transitions and the text is they automatically fade themselves out, so you don't get that abrupt shift again. So experiment with some of those titles. There's some really cool ones. I really like the sparkly ones. When you have a theme turned on, those will actually make sound. They'll like glisten, so to speak. So that's super fun. Okay, so we've talked about clips, video, and audio. I want to talk just another moment here about the menus themselves. When you're on a clip, whether it's an image, I'm actually going to put that back so I have an image there, an image, a title, or video, right-clicking is going to bring up all kinds of things. The clip trimmer is really, really handy, because what the clip trimmer does is it allows you to have more precision on where those transitions and stuff occur. So if you have video of, like, say your kids are doing like a newscast and they're sitting behind a desk and somebody goes, and you want to trim that out but keep it smooth looking, you can adjust that with really fine precision by opening this clip trimmer here. So what this is showing me right now is that the transition between this clip and this clip starts to occur over this section here. Oh, I'm sorry, no, lies. That's that part that I cut out because it was too long, just sitting there. So I can adjust that, like maybe I do want it to start with just a little bit of a delay. So I can drag that back just a wee little bit. So the clip trimmer is in there. You just close it when you're finished with it. The speed editor is pretty cool because that allows you to really finely tune the time on it. So this is cool. I'll show you in a minute, but up at the top here, when you see something in fast motion or slow motion, that's the speed. If I turn on that speed editor, I can do that right here. So a rabbit pops up and it makes it look like it's going really, really super fast. So what have I done? I've used speed up quite a bit with different projects. If I recorded something and say the kid's animation is just going really slow, like that one is pretty slow, I can either show the speed editor, Command R, rate, or I can come up to this clock timer menu and I can get a little bit more specific. If I want it to go slower, if I want it to go faster, or if I want to make it a custom speed, which is typically what I do, that just opens up the speed editor. If I want this to be 200%, it's going to be much faster. See how it brought up that little scale with the handle on it? When I hit play, it's like, woo, 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 really, it's double the speed. But I can even make it faster. If I want to get it down to 1 second, I can drag this back until it just shows 1 second. And then beep, beep, boop, 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 the cat changing the channel. So that's the speed editor. The other thing that's in here is the cut, copy, and delete. I actually, more frequently than using copy and paste, I use duplicate. So like, let's say hers is awesome. It's going at the right speed, but it's still too short. I want to duplicate it. I'm going to do Command D. Oh, sorry. No, that works everywhere except for in iMovie. I'm just going to copy paste it and leave the transition out. So now what happens is that video went from being 3.5 seconds to 8 seconds or whatever is double that amount of time. That wasn't a super example because it was already 7.5 seconds. But if I want it to go faster and then be double, like play twice, copy paste. Oh, and you see that? I don't know if you noticed that. This white playhead right here, the bar was here. And when I hit paste, it actually split this clip in half and pasted it right where my cursor was. So be careful of that. I just did Command Z, undo, to get that to go away. Okay, a couple of the other things that are in the menus up here. You've got some control over like I don't know if any of you had an old timey video camera where you had to focus in on like a piece of paper or something that was like white to get the colors to work right. If you do happen to record something with your camera and the colors just slightly off, you can mess around with the white balance. It'll actually allow you to click on the screen in a place where there's actual white, and it will shift everything from there. It's pretty cool.
Actually called finding the white balance, and that is not an old-timey thing. That's what we do in production.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I'm glad it's to know it's still
Put
real.
the white piece of paper in front of the camera. We wait for a little bit, and then we get the white.
Till the camera like,
Best practices in the field.
Oh, that's good to know. So that's still a real thing.
It is.
Yeah, you'll know. One thing that just made me think about when, if anybody has an iPhone, if you haven't updated iMovie on your computer lately, you may notice that the video type, because Apple, every time you get a new Apple device, they change the plug and they change the whatever. They do that with their file formatting as well. So the file types are kind of funky. And at first, iMovie wasn't able to handle its own Apple product file types. If you update, it should be okay. Like the HEIC photo type wasn't compatible with the previous version of iMovie. So if you can, try to keep your iMovie version updated. So, okay, so now that Nikki's told us about the balance, the being real thing, know that that's right there. It's pretty obvious. This little guy right here, the magic wand, I don't care what Apple tool you're in. If you see a magic wand, you click on it because it does magical things. This will auto adjust everything. So everything has the magic wand hovering over it. So it'll kind of analyze your video and adjust all of it kind of at levels. If you don't like how it looks, just turn it off. If you've recorded something manually and you don't have a super steady hand, you can stabilize it. The volume, oh, hang on, I've got a little, yeah. The volume, because I know why. See how it's grayed out? Because my videos have no sound. These are all audio free. So to show you a couple things with that, at the end here, I am going to go ahead and bring in that screen recording that I made. See how at the bottom of these, it's just blue, there's nothing, but on this one, it's got the white kind of lumpy things. I don't know what you'd call that, the sound, whatever. That's going to be because there's audio and these ones have no audio. So when I click on this one versus when I click on this one, I don't get that audio option up at the top on the ones that don't have sound. These two or this one I do. So the volume, the auto adjust, it tries to make it more of an even level. Although there's sometimes when I have to manually adjust this to make it louder or quieter. This is where when we talk about ducking in a minute with audio, you can have the sound of the video push back the music so that you can hear the speaking if there's something like that there. Then this is where I almost always turn on the bass boost on my audio because I hate the sound of my voice. I'm really sorry for how it sounds to you guys. I'll almost always turn on the bass boost just because it makes it a little bit more well-rounded sound. Otherwise, I showed you the timer up here. This is the fun part. The filters allow you to do some really cool stuff with both the video and the audio. So the clip filters change the look of your video. At the very top. Eesh, I don't want to hear that. I'm not sharing my screen anymore. I'm just gonna. Sorry. Stop. There's a little button that's up in like the menu bar. Hold on. Okay. Bar way. Stop. There we go. Muted. Okay. This changes the actual appearance of the video itself. So depending on your project, there's some really fun things that you can do with these clip filters. It just adds like another layer of intrigue to your video, depending on what the project is. The audio, this is where you can make your voice sound like a robot, or like you're in a great hall, or like you're on the phone, things like that. They're not super complex or fancy, but you do have a collection of like 16 of them, well, 20, I guess, that are kind of fun. Kids love that. And then finally, this last thing right here is the time or the information. If I know that I want each of these clips to only be 4 seconds, I can click on any one of them and I can actually change it right here. It will try to pick for you. It typically cuts the end off. So that's why I usually actually just manually adjust them by dragging either the beginning or the end into place. So far, just with menus, does anybody have any questions or things you want me to go back and tell you about again in a little more detail, clarify?
So these projects, Anne, you said they made them in
Please
Google
feel free to
Slides.
interrupt.
So these
Okay,
projects,
about green screens. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So unfortunately, I don't have a green screen or any footage to show you, but it works pretty darn well without it. So green screen can be used with pretty much any video segment, but it works most efficiently when you actually have a green or blue screen behind you. The place that you do that is, well, there's a couple things. One, if you think about whatever you record and what you want it to appear to be in front of, the background is going to be whatever's kind of the anchor here, and anything you put on top of it will be what's overlaid on that screen. So let's just pretend that I want to take Henry's video here and overlay it onto, this is Amelia's, and I want to pretend like I was using a green screen. So see how I set that clip on top of this one? Once I do that, I get an additional menu item up here at the top, and that is going to be the green screen or cutaway option. And this is actually super cool. So the cutaway will actually cut away from, say, this video here to this video, which this is really handy. Like, say you're doing an interview and you've got like the person talking, and then you have some footage of your kids working. You still want that person's voice to be heard in the background. You'd have the interview here and then the video of the kids on top. So you'd still hear the original video, but you'd see whatever's cut away to. That's what cutaway is. You can change the opacity here, which is super cool because then you can still kind of see both of them happening at the same time. And this is not a great example because they're both like animated. If you had like, I wish I could think of a good example that I had there. See how it's showing them both? So it's kind of blurred over. So that's what that opacity changes there. Green screen, blue screen, I'll come back to that one. Split screen is super cool because you can either do it side by side, like duet in TikTok. That's how cool we are because I know what that is. You can be showing two things at once. You can have it be on the left, the right, the top, or the bottom, depending on how you choose it over here. And then picture in picture. This is the one I probably use the most of all. Whatever's on top is going to be the inset picture. So if again, you're interviewing, say you have kid footage here and you're interviewing someone here, you might put the inset picture or video be the interviewer so that they're there and you can see them, but your attention is mainly going to be drawn to this. This can be anything you want. So if you have a PNG with a title on it, because the title that you want doesn't really exist down here. Like let's say you have a logo and you want your name with your school mascot or something like that. You can create that in a, this is like a 16:9 aspect ratio here. You can create that in a slide, save it with a transparent background, and then overlay that as a picture in picture, and it'll just be there in the corner. Super cool. So the other thing that's really awesome is you can resize that here, or you can even crop it to be whatever size you want. So that's fun. I love the picture in picture. So to answer your screen, the green screen and the blue screen, what it will do is it will take the blue or the green and it will try to cut it out. So do you see here it's eliminating the blue of the sky? If you were filming in front of a green screen, or in this case, I think I picked a blue screen, it's going to try to cut out anything that it identifies as that color, green or blue. if I don't want it, right, like instead of doing the blue of the sky, I want to take out the green of the grass. I can actually take the eraser tool and click on the part that I want it to eliminate, and it'll take that out. So here now what happens is I get this really weird soccer player that's looks like it's overlaid on the grocery store thing, because I've said ignore all the blue, ignore all the green, and only look at everything else. So I can even erase the cloud, and I can make it look like the soccer player is just playing. So that green screen concept doesn't have to be just with the green screen. You could probably find some really clever ways to use it like this. I mean, it's weird, but you could super do it. The reset button will take everything back to its original whatever, or I can just hit Command Z and undo it. So here's where it was when it was picture in picture, green screen, blue screen. I can adjust the softness of it. So see how it kind of gives it like a cloudy feel when I make it more or less soft. So this would be your beach scene down here. And then up here would be the video of you hula hooping or whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever you're setting on top is going to be what's shown against the background, if that makes sense. Does that kind of answer your question, Louise? I think if you hold the space bar, you should be able to just talk without turning your mic off.
Oh, all right. Well, I work with preschoolers. So I had seen another demonstration.
Can't hear you.
You can't? Now can you hear me?
Oh. Go ahead. Say that again. I forgot that I had muted my computer, remember?
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
I work with preschoolers, and this woman in another demonstration, she had green felt with a pocket, and she made this animal look like it was eating things by slipping them into the pocket.
Fun.
And so, you know, I just thought that was cool. And, you know, if I was I'm working with some kids remotely, and I don't know if I could do something with Very Hungry Caterpillar or something like that and make it eat through something. I don't know. I've never done it. So I was trying to get a sense of how that would work.
Yeah, that would be super cute. Nikki, have you done anything like that?
So, well, when I've done green screen, I've done where you like have the wall green behind you. And then we do the initial filming against the green wall, and then that goes on the one level of the film strip, and then we put something else on the top so that they blend in that way. So, but yeah, that's a cool one. If you come next week, Tracy Piltz is going to do our green screen using Dew Ink. And she could probably work that in and talk you through how to figure out something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. If anybody's done that, she'd be a good one to ask about that.
Cool things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that brings up a good point though. Certainly don't limit yourself to like a newscast or yourself on the beach. It could be like that. The use of the Hungry Caterpillar would be a really clever way to kind of capitalize on that technology in a super fun way. So yeah, that's one that I always kind of have to experiment with because I don't use it very often. And like Nikki said, when I do, I typically use a program that's specifically made more for that, but you can do it in here. So that's pretty cool. Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Okay, so the last thing I want to show you before we have some time to just play is the audio, because audio is kind of its own little beast. And you can actually make just audio files using iMovie. I've always wanted to be, but I am not adept with GarageBand. I don't understand it. I just can't get my head around it. There's too many literal layers, but I can understand iMovie. And so if I ever need to make an audio file, I typically use this instead, which is wacky. But audio is really pretty straightforward on here once you get that your videos or whatever by nature have audio attached to them if you brought it in that way. Like that video that I plopped in here at the very end, it had its own unique audio. I can take that off and either eliminate it or move it around, which is really cool. I can even do some really funky stuff like play it backwards. When I right click on a file that has audio, one of the options I have is to detach the audio. So you notice how I showed you that it's connected here. It's like part of the video. It just shows at the bottom as those little mountains. When I detach that, it pops off and comes in as this separate green file. I can delete that, and now this video will be how it ought to be with no sound. Or I can actually take this and move it, say, to another clip, or have it start a little bit sooner, which is super weird, but let's see. Blah, 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 blah. And I think I just have it recording off my computer mic. When I'm finished up at, I hate listening to myself. So that's really cool to know that you can do that, because that might be another time when, let's say you do have an interview with a kid and you want it to actually be, the kid is reading. And so you've recorded the kid and he's reading, but you want it to be behind some animation or some pictures from the actual book that he was reading. You can pop that audio off of the recording of him and move it behind the scenes of whatever it is that you want to adjust. And then just like the videos, you can split those clips and adjust it from there. So like I can use the Command B and split that apart. So if I want it to narrate, pause, narrate, I can actually build those in myself just manually by clipping those segments apart. The other thing is, again, I can adjust the speed down here, but more often than not, that's when I head up into here. So the sound levels are here. The quality of the actual audio is here, but the speed is in here. And what's really cool is, I just heard a commercial this afternoon where the guy was doing, you know, all whatever may vary, exceptions, maybe blah, blah, blah. And they were talking really fast. And I was like, dang, I thought I talked fast. Dummy, it's a trick. It's what they did was they sped it up and then they preserved the pitch. So I'm going to go ahead and make this speech be really fast because it shrinks it down more to the size of my clip. But I don't want to be sounding like a rabbit. I don't want to sound like that. I want it to sound like my own voice pitch. So when I click on preserve pitch, oh gosh, ready? Blah, blah, blah. I think I just have it recording off my computer mic. When I'm finished, up at the very top here, there's, oh, I'm not showing my screen anymore. Sorry. There's a little button. I think that's so weird. But you probably wouldn't want to go that fast. But if you needed, let's say you were really limited on time because you were making, say, a commercial or something like that, and you needed it to be 30 seconds, but you couldn't quite trim it enough, you could always just speed it up a little smidge, preserve the pitch, and no one would know. Or probably the opposite, if you're like me and you just talk really quickly, you might want to actually slow it down. So you could come on there and actually say slow and preserve pitch, and it will make me sound like a more reasonable person. Up in like the menu bar way up at the top. That might be a little too slow. But once you have applied a speed change to it, you get this handle that allows you to adjust it and just make it a little more up in like the menu bar way. Still a little slow, but that's really handy to be able to do if you maybe we're reading something and it went too fast, or you need to emphasize just a certain part or speed up a certain part. You can clip those or split them and then trim and adjust on both. The other thing that you can do with either a video or an audio is reverse it. Okay, and this shows you as a backwards turtle, and it's super freaky. It's weird. But there have been times when I've actually used that in projects to make it just sound like noise, like crowd noise or a lot of people talking. You can actually copy an audio file and layer it like this, and maybe keep some of them backwards and have some of them going forwards. It just starts to sound like a lot of noise. Ready? It's weird. It's real weird. But there's some really cool things to layering sound like that too. So you could have applause along with talking or singing or different things like that with the audio all by itself, from layering and changing the speed and pitch. So the very last piece to this, and then I do want to make sure and show you the little short thingies, like the movie previews. But the very last thing that you need to know before you're actually ready to finish a video is the publishing options. So that's going to be up here under share. Once you've kind of got your piece kind of compiled and you're ready to publish it, clicking on this share button gives you some different options for how to do it. Almost always, I export the file first, just as a file, because if I send it to YouTube and it doesn't actually publish, or my district blocks it, or I shut my computer off halfway in between, I just would rather have a little bit more control and not have to do it twice. So by exporting the file, I get the actual packaged copy of it first, and then I can put it on Facebook, or then I can put it on YouTube. So when you go to export the file, the first thing it's going to ask you to do is, what's it called? This is going to be what its title is when it's sitting out here on your desktop or wherever you save it. When you're just working on it in the project right here, you can call it whatever you want. In fact, you notice that we haven't named it yet. Like I was saying at the very beginning, not until I actually go back to see all my projects will it ask me to name it, which I just find so odd. So if I name it now, not 33, then see how it kicks me out? I can also publish it from here. So I can share the project directly from here. It's just kind of wherever you decide to do it. Either way, it's going to take you to this screen. It doesn't keep the name for whatever reason. That was probably something I did. I've never used the description or the tags. That's probably just for searching on your end or when you publish it to YouTube or Facebook. But the resolution is important. If you're actually going to send something for your kids to watch, remember that the higher resolution is going to take up a lot more bandwidth for them to watch. If they're going to be watching it on their phones, something smaller is probably plenty. But if it's going to be on it, you're going to show it. I used to do these Vocademy awards for my students, and we would show it on the big screen in the gym. In a case like that, you're going to want it to be a higher resolution. So just kind of be mindful of that. By default, this project, because of the quality of the video that I put in there, the highest resolution is 720, which is plenty. Your quality, this is going to be the actual quality of the video itself. It'll still be the resolution you chose, but it's going to be the actual just quality of the finished project. So again, if you're going to be putting it on a big screen and showing it to your staff, you might want to do the best. Otherwise, by default, it's just high. If it's just like I recorded myself teaching and I need to send this to my principal or something like that, a lower quality may be fine. Finally, the compression. This is just whether you want it to actually happen faster or better quality. By default, it's faster. Oh, and I forgot to say, if I just made an audio file, this is where I can publish only the audio. So this is why I use iMovie for just that. Doesn't matter what I put on the video. Remind me to come back to that. So once I have the things selected there, it's just going to ask me where I want it to save, and it'll start to render that. And it's pretty quick. It shows you the progress up here. If it's a huge file with tons of media and pictures and stuff, like you can see, I do have a lot of clips in there. It'll take a little while, but you'll know when it's finished because you'll get a pop-up that tells you so, and you can see this fill, so to speak. But while it does that, I can go back in there and continue to work. I don't know why you would do that if you're already publishing it, but the other thing I forgot to mention to you about audio, if you have, oh, I know why I did that, because I had the slash in there and it won't take that, for goodness sake. Rename iMovie 3-22. Where I had my media in here and I had these ones that had all of the different audio files. If I want to make a project that just has audio and that's it, I can, oh, this is cool. I can favorite these out here so that when I'm trying to find it later, it's easier to find. But I'm going to go in and create a new project that's just audio because I want to show you something that was in here. if I pulled just audio, it used to be, in order to publish it, I had to have something to attach it to. But now, sweet, I can do just audio. That's cool. That's newish. You didn't used to be able to put just audio in without having something visual to attach it to, and then you could save it as an audio file. So that's actually really cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll just call it my movie, and then this is really easy to delete. Yep. Okay. Finally, and this might get a little bit to your storyboard thing. The other option you have here is a trailer, and these are really fun because these are like sort of prescribed recipes that make your final product look really cool. So what pops up here is you have all of these pre-themed trailer things. And depending on sort of the mood that you're trying to get across, I had kids do these with book reviews and they were so fun. The preset themes are really clever. I mean, everything from like an action-packed adventure movie. And you can see so you see how it's got the background music and it flashes and it's got the text that goes over it. All of these are super cute. So just depending on kind of what feel you're shopping for, so to speak, you can pick any one of these. So when I say create, it tells you right there at the bottom about how many recommended cast members there are, how many scenes it's going to need, and then it actually lays out for you what you need. So the outline here is what's going to show up on the flashes, like what's it called? So we could call this iMovie Brilliance or something, whatever. And it's going on 2 different lines. So you can put in there, you can see what it's going to look like when you're finished, and continues on and on. So this was really fun to put like groups of kids' names on there. The storyboard is telling you in the fight between good, and it's showing this scene. So it's telling you this is the optimal layout for this particular scene. So if you have video or pictures, and you can really easily get to them by just popping your audio in there, or your video in there. And you can change this text really easily too, like one sunny Sunday. It'll just automatically change these for you. Again, the space bar lets you preview it, and it tells you how long each snippet is going to be. So 3.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds. Those are preset, so it won't take any longer than that. But if you actually want to adjust what 1.2 seconds of this entire video it takes, you can do that. Oh, this one is huge. That's why it's not letting me do it. It's out of a 6-minute video. Come on. Oh, it must be on the shot list. Yeah. So here's where you can just, so I need 1, 4, 11, 14, 16 clips altogether. The longest one can only be 3.5-ish seconds long. The rest are all less than that. So this is going to be super fast. It just, all you do is just plug stuff in here. So if you have a whole bunch of photos or a whole bunch of videos, these are super fun to just ship out really quickly. You just plop everything in. The music is already built in. The transitions are already built in. That theming is already built in. It's super fun. So those ones are pretty self-explanatory. If you want to really just start with something simple and easy and that turns out super cool, yeah, those, and it of course wants to save it for me, but those trailers are really easy. And that might be just a really good place to start with experimenting with kind of the pacing of things and how to get actual clips in and what looks good where, that kind of stuff. So you've got two different options. You've got the trailers and the movies. The movies obviously are more the do-it-yourself. The trailers are the pre-made. You look super cool when you come out with one because they just turn out so cool. And that's iMovie for you. So do you guys just want to play with help? Do you want to just go in and digest all of this and have some dinner and a couple beers? You're outside of school hours now.
Is there a place to go that kind of has all of these things listed or something? Because
Yes.
my problem, I've learned everything I know by trial and error. And is there a reference or something that you could
Yes.
go to?
So that's a super question. The very best resource is actually in the iMovie Help. They have a fantastic like user guide online. There's actually like a in iBooks, there's actually like a guide in there with a table of contents. You can get to it from the help menu here. It's just under iMovie Help. There's this user guide that's super great, and it's all broken down kind of by, it's got a table of contents obviously, but it's broken down by category on picking your style, adding effects, how to actually get the clips in there. All of those are kind of cataloged here, but even more broken down, I just put a link in into the chat there of a really simple, straightforward, here's what you want to do to get started. You can find everything from super simple to really complex just by Googling it, honestly. But I mean, obviously the pinnacle tutorial is going to come from iMovie itself. Oh no! Yeah, and that's a that's a good point. In a couple weeks, it's like 2 or 3 weeks, right, Nikki? We're gonna do another one on the iMovie for your device. So Apple, or I'm sorry, geez, iPhone or iPad. And the one on the computer is by far more complex. You can do a lot more with it. And it's just got a lot more stuff in the menus and everything. So if you get this, you'll really easily get that. But just know they're similar and different altogether. So if you did like someone else where you updated your, oh good, April 12th, where you updated your computer and you weren't able to kind of play along or click around in there, that's totally fine. Yeah. So whoops, hang on. I got this thingy open here. If you guys do end up kind of poking around just a little bit in iMovie and you encounter some kind of a weird question or something funky's happened, you're absolutely welcome to email me anytime. I can't promise I'll know the answer, but I'm glad to help you figure it out. I'm like you, Louise. I like to poke around and dig, but it also drives me crazy when I can't figure something out. So I'll keep going and keep going and keep going till I till I get it. So I'm happy to help with that. Any other questions, you guys? I'll hang out here if you want to get on and start playing it all.
And we are recording this, and we're going to put the recording on our website, and I'll share that as soon as we've got all that published. So you can come back to this actual recording and listen to pieces of it too, if that helps.
After you edit it out and adjust the sound and put a little green screen
filter and maybe some picture on the side. It's going to be much fancier now. The pressure's on now that you've taught me a couple of things. This recording is going to be where I play around with some stuff.
I hope you do. You might as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
One of the big challenges that I see, like if I'm doing a search of how to use iMovie, if I don't know the actual words to use, I'll get all kinds of weird stuff. And so having something like a recording or a help thing that maybe I don't want to read it all in the help, but if I can just get the right words to put into the search, that just makes it a lot easier to find what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. That's true in almost every tool, isn't it?
Yeah, they all have their own language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and even like I was saying, like Command D works in every Apple tool, but not in iMovie for whatever reason. So there's definitely little subtle vocabulary and shortcuts and stuff that you can use in one, but not necessarily the other. Any other questions you guys have, or you want something you want to see how to do? Cool. Okay.
One tool that I used that I didn't see you mention was, I kind of discovered it and really used it a lot once I knew about it. It was where you mark certain spots in the clip. And so if you're trying to mark an exact place to cut, and those little things are really handy. And if you lift up on it with your cursor, it'll just pop and go away.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I did forget about that. Again, that's what where you're gonna find them up in the menus up here. Mark is, you can add a marker. So like I do that all the time if it's a long video. Like I used to do interviews and stuff, and I'd want to come in and put a title over it, but then I'd have to go find that part where I wanted to do it. Putting a marker in there allows you to, it stands out for one thing, but yeah, see how it pops up there. I think you can even jump to the markers, can't you? There's so much stuff up here in the menus that, wow. In every app, like that's just a lesson. Poke around in the menus and just even see what's up there. I thought there was jump too, but I don't see it. Oh my, look at this. Sports team editor. Oh, this is cool. I have used this. This is like if you've got two teams and you're going to do one of the themes, you can put the logo in with the names on there. So if you do like a sports cast, it'll show the name on there. It's really cool. Oh, fun. I forgot all about that. Yeah, you brought up a really good point. Poke around in here for sure, because there's probably 100 things in here that I forgot to show you, even just in the preferences alone. Like when I bring a picture in, do I want it to automatically do Ken Burns? No, maybe I want to just have it make fit, and then I can apply the Ken Burns if I want to. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do in there. Glad you brought that mark up. Yeah.
So Anne, one of the first productions I ever did, I had like the kids in there and we did green screen stuff. And then we wanted like the intro and outro music. And when I got like free music from YouTube and put it on the audio thing. But when we listened to it, the music would be like really loud, and then it would go to the kids, and then I know you can adjust the audio, but I don't know how to do that.
Awesome. Oh, that's another really good question. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to go here to audio because I forgot I didn't really mention much of that either. I'm so glad you brought that stuff up. When you go on audio on the menu up here, there's a whole bunch of populated audio types like sound effects and stuff in here. Or like you were saying, you can actually get, I use a site called Bensound, BENSOUND. And so I have those, they just go, when you save a file to your, it's not called iTunes anymore, it's Apple Music or just music or something like that. When you bring that in here, you can save them all. So I've got all these Bensound files. And like Nikki was saying, I want it to just kind of quietly come in and then quietly leave out at the beginning and end. If I hit E on one of these, it puts it in, just tries to read my mind, of course, like it puts it in there at the beginning, but I only want it in a very small spot. And you see how it's really loud? Those red things, you never want your audio to go up over the red. So a couple things there. This bar allows you to just manually adjust and bring it down where you don't see any of that red anymore. That's over the whole video or audio. And the other thing is, you see how it put it down here below this line? You can move it to the foreground, so to speak, or the background. The background is when it's down here. The foreground is when it's up here. Whatever's in the foreground tends to be the thing that gets the priority for the audio, especially if or when you have one of those clips where, like this one, where there's audio in there. So I'm going to cut that, and I'm actually going to bring it to the beginning so you can see what I mean. I'm going to paste that up there. When this is in the background, that audio stays in place. It stays stuck to the beginning. If I had put it in the foreground, what would have happened there is the audio stays attached to this clip. So when I paste that one in there, it scoots it over. Mm-hmm. So the background versus foreground is kind of important to know. And the other thing is, hang on, let me get that back down here. When I paste that in, listen to this if you can. Oh, shoot. Hang on, let me get this back in here. Because remember, I took the audio off of it. Okay. Come on. I think I just have it recording off my computer. See how that music is so loud?
Mhm.
So a couple things. One, I can drag this little fade in audio button here out like this, and that'll slowly kind of gradually ease the music in. But also, two things. I can click on the main audio file, and up here in the, oh, sorry, it's this one, up here in the volume equalizer thing, I can say, oh, sorry, dang it, well, this one, lower volume of other clips. This was really hard for me to get my head around. This is lower it more, and this is lower it less, not make it quieter or louder. It's almost the opposite. So if you notice the level on the sound down here, as I move this up, the volume goes down. It's because I'm lowering the volume more. So what happens is it ducks that audio back behind the primary audio, blah, blah, blah. And I think I just have it recording off my computer mic. When I'm finished, so if I want it to kind of cut out here, this is really kind of cool too. I can split it and then I'm going to delete that. I don't want it to just, when I break, I want it to subtly ease out. So I can pull this little thing here back that way too. So it's like the transition in and out. So this is going to be really fast, blah, 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 blah. And I think I just have it recording off my computer mic. And the longer you drag this out, the more subtle that transition is going to be. So eventually it'll just kind of like taper itself off. Blah, 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 blah. And I think I just have it recording off my computer mic. When I'm finished, up at the very top, so see how it kind of closes out. So I love to do that with the beginning of a song. And then at the end, I want to take just the end. Just like with the video, I can grab a piece here and pull it down. Or like if it's a really short clip like this, let's say, I'm going to drag it all the way to the beginning and the end. If you get a nice long song, you can cut it here and cut it here, say. Cut that middle part out and then just adjust the ends. We just had a dog visitor come in. Get out of here. Up in like the menu bar way up at the top, it's like it looks like. And so when I do that, actually what I like to do is put in like my end credits or a screen at the end that just says music by Ben Sound or whatever. If you do use someone else's music, to make sure you credit it, I'm going to put that in there. And then I like to have the music kind of play into that one. Oops. I think it makes kind of a cool effect. Way up at the top, it's like it looks like the. So see how it got a little louder at the end? It's because there was no background noise to duck behind. So then it brings it up a little bit. So that's kind of how to adjust and duck behind, is make sure it's background. One, you can come up here and lower the volume of other clips. But the other thing that you can do, if you play it and it's just too loud, you can manually just adjust the sound here. I actually do that quite often because I listen and I'm like, nope, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. At the top, it's and then like it looks like the. It used to be different than that, Nikki. It used to be literally, it was called ducking, and it was pretty sensitive. You couldn't decide whether it was foreground or background. It was only background. It was not super intuitive.
Thank you. That helps.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Monique, yes. All the audio that's in the sound effects and GarageBand, those are all copyright free. They're all part of the collection of iMovie. If you use any music from your actual iTunes, those, like a Billie Eilish song, I am 100% certain that Billie Eilish doesn't want us to do that. So either obviously getting permission or use a different song, but it just tries to pull everything in your whole library in there. These Ben Sound ones, as long as you put on your video, if you go right to the site, it actually says what the parameters are. bensound.com. And same with YouTube ones, any that you pull off YouTube. If it says download, it tells you right here what you have to do. You just have to say credit bensound.com in the description for the video. So for example, music by http. Da, 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 da. So most of the places where you can get audio will tell you something like this, or you can buy. It's quite expensive. So yeah, that's all the ones that are actually here in sound effects, which are quite a lot. There's music. The music ones they're pretty good. Those are under jingles. They're listed by time. I usually sort them from shortest to longest so that if I know I need something that's 30 seconds, I can just come in here and sort of browse that length of time. They go all the way up though to like 2.5 minutes. Yeah, and these ones you can use. Sometimes you'll hear them. I want to say it's like this one. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. No, one of them is on the, what's the construction company in town where the guy has his little kid? You know which one I'm talking about? He uses one from, he obviously made it in here because you can hear the audio from the, I'm like, hey, that's an iMovie song. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Nikki. I completely left that whole chunk out right there. Anything else, you guys, that I forgot? Cool. Ooh, Monique, that'll be awesome. Just some words of advice. If you make a video for your kids of all the pictures and stuff you've taken in videos over the year and you put their names in at the end, don't accidentally forget one kid. Yeah, I might have done that one year. And we're watching it. And my kids are like, you forgot Anthony. And I was like, oh, Anthony, I'm so sorry. I had to bring him a new copy, like straight to his house. I felt so bad. Oops. Sorry, buddy. I did run into him though. He works at Holiday now. And I was like, do you remember me? And he goes, yeah, you were my 4th grade teacher. And I was like, right. And he came and gave me a hug. So see, it was okay. I didn't like damage the kid beyond repair, but yeah, I felt really bad. I didn't bring it up either. I wasn't like, hey, do you remember that one time when? Yeah, it's fine. Just I'm here to help you learn.
If you had a video that was totally like finished and then you realized that you forgot something, you could go back in and edit it, right?
Yes. And for that reason, I did tonight because I plugged in my backup hard drive. I usually leave everything as is for like a year on my computer because it seems like every time, Louise, that I do that, I delete them. That's exactly when that happens. If you have the original file, you can just go right in and edit it again. If you don't, you can bring that video in as a whole video, put a cut in or whatever and edit like it was, you know, it's not going to be quite the original. You won't have the pieces, but you can pretty easily cut that in. So, yeah.
Well, and another thing that I found out, I was having issues on my personal computer with not having enough space. And so I had bought a hard drive, right? An external hard drive. You could move all of your movies and your whole iMovie program onto your hard drive to free up space on your computer. And then if you want to use it, you just need to plug in your hard drive and then you can use it.
Yeah, isn't that great? That's super advice from Louise there.
Really, really helpful if you have space issues.
Definitely. I went and bought my own computer for that very reason because my school one just didn't have enough room on it. So yeah, it's good. Good to know. Cool. Anything else, guys? Thanks so much for all the great ideas and tips. And did we touch on kind of everything you were hoping to get? You have some ideas for how to make your activity tutorials and your green screen? That'll be really cool. What else was there? Navigating around. Everybody good on all that stuff? Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And it's nice to see other real people, grown-ups.